Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We enter our off-season mode where we join you on Monday now instead of our normal Sunday pods, which is fair because if we had done our normal pod at the time we went live, usually go live, I don't know that we would have had any of our matchups in stone. I guess we did know that the Giants were going to
Giants-Eagles is basically it at that point, isn't it? But
yeah,
no, I mean, we have all four matchups. We will have Giants heading to Philly. We will have the Bills hosting.
Yeah.
Somebody gaslit me yesterday too, saying like, is this in Atlanta? I'm like, no, is it? Like they said that's not a thing. Like for like for like 15 seconds I thought about that, but yes, we'll have anyway. KC hosting the Jags, the Bills hosting the Bengals, and the Niners hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next weekend. So 4 games set in stone. I'm excited about divisional weekend.
You're trying to jinx my Bucks, man.
No, I bet them too today. I'm going anti. I don't think I can jinx anything.
Okay.
I won like my last 6 golf bets. I won on an Ivy League team who's absolute dog shit and beat Harvard outright this morning. We're nice. Unbreakable right now.
High five for the halftime plays.
Oh, yeah. Damn it.
2 for 2 on the halftime plays. Good job.
What a weird way to cash that.
You even hit your Nadal spread last night. I was giving you help because I was like, best of luck covering the games.
First set spread as well too.
Oh, did he? I didn't even see the games for the first time because it was a 1.5. I guess
1.5. Yeah. He won 7-5. The easiest way to win the 1.5.
Well, what's hard is coming through with a 6-1. Was it 6-1 in the final set? So he basically covered all 5 games in the final set because it was a draw games to that point. Irvin Magic Johnson. What was the tweet there? Did we get some good insight from Irvin?
Oh yeah. What a wild and exciting NFL wildcard weekend. The Jaguars came back from a 27-point deficit to win their game, and the Giants upset the Vikings.
Amazing. Should we start with the team of destiny, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or do you want to go in order?
I'm such a stickler for order. Let's do order.
Okay, let's start with the team of destiny, the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy, he did not really turtle other than at moments in the first drive. They take a deficit into halftime in San Francisco, but it didn't ever really feel like it was that in doubt that they were going to win. Definitely felt like it was in doubt that they were going to cover. We were halfway through the third quarter, and Seattle was still leading this game. At that point, it became a little bit of a one-way action with the turnover and the failure of the Seahawks defense.
There were like 2 schools of thoughts around this, and I said it tongue in cheek, and boy, you jumped down my throat. I don't think you caught it because you had a bet. You took the 10. I don't think that was a bad bet, but I said like, hey, Seattle proved that they shouldn't even have been here in the playoffs. It was more of a thing about Detroit, but like the 2 schools 100%. Of thoughts are later in the late. I mean, even into the third quarter, it looked like the chances of this being a 2-score game don't seem all that good. But then at the other side of things, it's like Seattle had to play like perfect to get to that point. Like a lot of things had to go right. So I feel like probably somewhere in that 8 to 11 range was probably a good number. And I feel like this is, I think it cashed. I think 10 cashes half the time. Honestly, I don't know, like just my kind of looking back at it, how the spread should have gone. I don't know if we see that many points all that often as we saw in that game. It got a little squirrely there late, and truthfully, like Brock Purdy is just running pure. We again tongue in cheeking it a little about him being just this player of destiny, but like every interceptable pass he throws is dropped. Every time he reacts poorly to pressure, a defender bounces off him or he gets the ball out just in time. Like it's unsustainable. But at the same time, we've been saying this for 4 weeks. Do you want to just keep martingaling against this guy, or just maybe
no? Yeah, losing a lot of money.
Point, at some point there's a ton credit given to all these Pro Bowl players that are all over both sides of the ball for the Niners, and a very good coaching staff who's guided him along this far. And it's a good team, and it's getting healthier, and Seattle just got in the way.
Yeah. So 2 things really kind of flipped. You're right. Seattle needed to play a perfect game, and they got some breaks in the first half. Certainly the fact that they were up was pretty lucky going into halftime. But in the second half, right at the end of that third quarter, whenever that drive that ended in the fumble, they started committing stupid penalties. It looked like Ken Walker got hurt, and then Geno Smith kind of capped it off with a gross fumble. And at that point, it was basically like, here we go. Boat race is on. And there are just too many very, very talented players on this San Francisco team. So many ways they can hurt you. It's like an embarrassment of riches. And Kyle Shanahan is cooking with absolute gas right now. He is calling just an incredible. Well, yeah, I mean, that hopefully goes nowhere. But who knows?
Not cooking.
No, it's absolutely miserable. I don't understand what's going on at all. Why they think that matters? Like they need to drop that. Anyway, so many more fights you can fight, guys. Let's not take away people's gas stoves.
I just bought $900 worth of LP. I just had my giant tank filled up. You can't take that stove away now.
Stop it. And just absolute asinine reasons that they're giving for why this is a thing. Anyway, sacks were the difference. Turnovers were the difference. Penalties were the difference in this game. Seattle goes home. Niners move on. I am interested in a couple of things about this Niners team at this point. We didn't really get into it on the pod last week, and it didn't really cross my mind, but Jimmy G's probably getting healthy. This timetable had him kind of available for divisional round when he went out with, what is it? It was not a List Frank. It was just a foot sprain or something. I can't remember what the injury was. It's been so long, but there was a whiff of, if Purdy doesn't win this game cleanly, are they going to, have a quarterback controversy in the divisional round and beyond? And I mean, the answer is absolutely no. Like Shanahan seems completely.
I like that he nipped it in the bud. Just like don't leave that out there for the team.
Yeah, unequivocally no. Purdy and Shanahan are 2 peas in a pod. We were making jokes. I think we were making jokes. I was kind of drunk at times when we were tweeting about stuff, but we were making jokes about Shanahan getting the Brock Purdy tattoo, like he got the Chris Sims initials tattooed when they were like best buds in college or whatever. But it feels like the bromance is strong between Brock Purdy and Shanahan. Purdy's limitations don't matter.
Getting a quarterback tattooed on your body as a coach, I mean, that's literally happened with Rex Ryan, and his was way weirder. Like he has that Sanchez foot tattoo or whatever. I'm gonna go look that up at some point. Dan,
does he?
Dan knows what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Oh man.
It was like a weird.
Oh my God.
It was like a weird deal. So hey, real quick, Charles is asking, what are you guys' fares and totals for San Francisco hosting Dallas and Tampa?
I don't really know my numbers. I don't really know what to make. Your Tampa number is in total flux right now because they either come out and they look like the team they were supposed to be, and you're kind of weighted pretty heavily towards their prior, or you are, using the data from this season, in which case you're talking about like San Francisco -9-ish. I mean, -7-ish probably. My number is closer to 3 just because I have a lot of confidence in Tampa looking like their preseason prior said they were going to look, just because everybody's healthy. I think still obviously over 3, well over 3, like, 3.5, 4.
So if this game never occurred and they just moved one of these teams on, like they will do inevitably during the Australian Open if somebody gives someone a walkover, and we don't get to see these teams played right now. San Francisco 3.5 over Dallas, 6 over Tampa is my number.
That's pretty fair.
And I do think like if it's Tampa, I don't know if it'll be 6 because they'll have like, oh shit, the offense looked good this week, and the market's going to have to adjust to that.
Yeah, there is a very high probability that you're going to get a big old adjustment on Tampa if they look good. Like that's a huge if, obviously, but if this is like, oh my God, this reminds me of the Tampa team that won a Super Bowl in recent memory, then market's gonna react pretty aggressively because it's been.
Is it pretty? Not asymmetric. Is it pretty static for Dallas? Like if they win, like best case, they absolutely look like 94 Cowboys. Which honestly, that'd be bad. That means they ran like a lot of Emmitt Smith off guard runs. But if they look really, really good, I mean, the ceiling's probably 3.
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't see it getting there. It feels like 3.5 is a pretty fair for that.
I agree with that.
Maybe some books have it up. If you guys have checked around, let us know if you see it up at some locals. The hypotheticals.
I bet you the hypotheticals are out there.
Yeah, there it is. It was his wife wearing a Sanchez jersey. That's what it was.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
All right.
This is why Dan's the best, because that is weird.
That's a weird one. That is a weird one. All right. Well,
so where were we at on that game? Oh yeah. Seattle. You know what? If Seattle plays a perfect game for 2 halves, they can win. If they play a perfect game for 3 quarters, they cover. They almost got to that point, and then it just got a little out of hand. So
real quick, Niners defense. Any warning signs about how what they give up 350 yards here, 330? I mean, some of that was garbage time yards, I guess, but big play to DK Metcalf. He was uncoverable in this game. I guess just are you sounding an internal alarm about the Niners defense being a little overrated?
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, we've seen what the ceiling for Geno was during the season with those receivers. And I mean, it's not like there's going to be a point in this playoffs where you're playing a team. I mean, God, unless the Giants win in Philly, maybe. But I mean, facing Dallas receiving core, facing this Tampa Bay duo, like you're going to face good receivers throughout the playoffs. So a little bit of a worrisome, but maybe more of a look to the over. If this defense is a little sketchy on the back end, they have enough offensive pieces where totals should keep climbing.
Okay.
And what do you have for totals? Again, it depends. It depends. I would say high 40s, like somewhere in the 46.5 to 50 range, depending on what we see in these games tonight. This game tonight.
Yeah. I think the weather's going to be nice in San Francisco. I think that healthy offensive line, healthy set of skill position players. You're not going to see presumably you're not going to see, just a defensive stalemate with either of these teams.
Yeah.
So
if it opens low, I'll be looking at the overs as we get openers in about 4 hours here.
Whew, man, Niners have been taking my lunch money, man. And Shanahan really is he is just on another level right now with the way he's conceiving these plays. And yeah, having McCaffrey, I guess one other thought. So Kittle is a disastrous matchup for both of these teams, surely.
Yeah.
They didn't really even have to use him in the Seahawks game, even though the Seahawks have been a tight end funnel. Deebo Samuel, his impact on the game is just unflipping believable. Like the dude cannot be tackled. He has the most incredibly low center of gravity. I don't understand it. Like the guy is literally untackable, untrippable.
Taysom Light, I call him.
You watch him running around out there, getting popped, getting hit, like no other player in the league could possibly be on their 2 feet, and yet there he is. McCaffrey also, of course, is just unbelievably dynamic, and once he gets to the second level, so these Niners, man.
Yeah, and this is true no matter what.
Yeah,
San Francisco will have a big coaching advantage.
They will. Although maybe a little bit of distraction. We got D'Amico Ryan. Ryan is doing interviews this week, right?
Yeah. The nice thing is, and Granted, I know phones existed for many, many, many years, but like the fact that they can do these Zoom calls now, which again, I've brought this up, I feel like on a podcast. What were you doing, Skype? How did you fumble the bag?
How did you fumble
You've
the
been
bag?
around forever. How did you fumble the bag? But the fact that these guys can just sit in an office in a quiet room and do these Zoom calls, it's a lot less of a distraction if they don't have to do any traveling.
Didn't Microsoft buy Skype, and then ultimately Teams has become significantly more useful for for conferencing and anyway.
Teams used to be bad. But
yeah,
I digress. Let's get into the second game.
They lapped Skype at this point. All right, the second game. Where to start? I was in an absolute hell watching the first half of this game because the Chargers were going to be a tough out. It felt like no matter what, road favorite. Relatively healthy. Like it was going to be a tough match for the Jags no matter what. And then to hand them short fields and turnover after turnover after turnover in the first half of that game was brutal. It was brutal. It was such a tough watch. And it was like, I still think the Jaguars are a better team. Well, this isn't a fair contest. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, it was a really, really tilting experience seeing Lawrence throw those picks in the first half. We come through with some optimism that they were going to at least close the gap by betting them second half, I guess, but I didn't really think that a win was in the cards. Certainly not with a 20-point margin at halftime and a healthy live quarterback on the other side of the ball. But the Jaguars were superlative down the stretch. They didn't quit. They didn't give up. Trevor Lawrence completely reformed his play. The Jaguars were 2 of 10 in the game on third down. Unbelievable. They conceded 8 of 17 on third down to the Chargers.
If you showed me the halftime score and then you showed me the final score, like just what do you think? Let's say we play a million years of football and this happens 100 more times, because I mean, honestly, it happened once already this year with the Vikings. In a game where a team is down by 4 scores or more and wins the game in the second half, what do you think the turnover ratio was in that second half? Because it was even.
Had to be net positive. Yeah.
How? Yeah. That's the craziest part. It really was. I mean, people are calling for Staley's head. Who knows what they do there? Like the thing is, like, just get him help. Get him help with some decision making. I don't think you knee jerk, and I don't think you just go like find someone better on the streets right now and you're a better team for it. I think you find him help and get him a different OC, but that it was on the coaching staff. They did like the turtling you guys are saying in the chat, the playing conservative, the not like do what you did in the first, obviously do what you did in the first half. Oh, get 5 turnovers. Easy said, Andy. No, just do what you did once you got the turnovers. Be semi-aggressive on offense. It just turned really bad. And it is crazy. Like in my head, I was like, man, this is like watching that Vikings game again. But I'm like, yeah, but they don't have, Jefferson, and that's just it's not gonna be like that. So never thought we would get the money line home on that one. That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
I've never seen a playoff game like that.
All right. So God, so many different ways to go with this. You brought it up that conservatism was a huge problem. The more you talk to people and realize what's going on in LA, the more sense it all starts to make. Staley drew a lot of criticism for his aggressive in-game play calling last year. That put the entire front office on the hot seat, I guess. And so I think it basically neutered Staley from his boss, basically, is now effectively the guy that is deciding how conservative, how aggressive we are going to be as a team, which I think explains a lot of Staley's backsliding in terms of when he's going for it over the balance of this season, in this game. And I think Staley deserves a ton of the credit. I mean, a ton of the blame for how things went down the stretch. Certainly the decision to play, Mike Williams in the week 18 looks exceptionally poor in hindsight.
That's what I was so mad about at halftime. Drew, was like he got away with it.
That was that was
there's
going
to be
that
no
was my
punishment
that was
for this.
I know that was a huge part of it, even beyond the losing money and all of it. It was just like, I can't believe he's going to get away with this. And honestly, like, Staley bore the brunt of that decision, but that had to be an organizational decision. You don't make that. You don't just go in and wing it if you're the coach and you're like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to play him. Let's just leave him in there.
Was that like Staley voice?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, that's,
you need to do that more often.
Okay. Well, whatever the case is, like, it wasn't a off the cuff decision. It was an organizational decision, and the organization overall needs, should bear some heat here. And I guess owner feels like, we made the playoffs. We're making a step forward. You get one more year, guys. And so Telesco and Staley come back. But again, I'm assuming that this is Telesco who is effectively puppet mastering things because it's his job. He doesn't get to fire another coach and hire another coach. Like, it's over for him if this does not work. Lame duck coach and GM heading into next season, as far as I can tell you. Does not look like a long-term answer. And they're going to have to make changes with Joe Lombardi moving on, I would guess. If they don't, then they are absolutely the most tone-deaf idiots out there, which is possible. But that said, hopefully there's a new offensive coordinator and a new vision, but whatever. Jaguars, on the other hand, the plays that they were calling to get back in were just like, it was so satisfying. It was so satisfying. The momentum and just in general, the Chargers kind of looking at each other down the stretch, like, offense, like, man, we need a first down here. Oh shit, we didn't get it. Like, everything was just, it was so satisfying. It was so good in that fourth quarter. And
this is the food snob has the right take. Hopefully Lombardi ends up as the scapegoat.
I mean,
getting a different offensive coordinator in there might be what it takes, because they have, when healthy, it's a dangerous offense and has a bunch of really good defensive pieces. We have to look at contracts, see how they slate for next year. But that's where we're at. We're looking at them for next year.
We could go on and on and on. Like, Telesco, he spent a lot of money last year. You're running out of time with your quarterback on a rookie deal. Like, it's all going to come due at some point. So they kind of cannot make any more mistakes in the way that they're rostering that team, but they may be too late. Anyway, Jaguars, the touchdown that put them within 4 was sublime. It was perfect. And then the penalty that put them on the 1 yard line, when they went for it, what was your gut reaction? Down 4, going for 2.
No, I liked it. My favorite part, and I hate to dog on a guy because there's a decent chance he's just old, and like, what happens to your mind when you get old? Like, there's a decent chance he could be, there could be deeper problems, because Al Michaels is a legend. Like, I hated having to dog on him because I loved him, but like, was that the spot where he was just fucking confused? Or he said, oh, they're not going for 2 because they're at the 1 yard line. That can't be a 2-point conversion. Like that. It's like he wasn't watching the game for the last several minutes during the penalty and stuff. And Tony didn't even correct him. Tony was like, he gaslit Tony, who is just a wet rag at this point. It was very confusing. I'm like, because I'm like, what's going on? Of course they're going for 2.
Yeah, that's
I did think it's the right call. I think it's always the right call. Almost, like, obviously, if you scored a touchdown and you're tied at 30 or something late in the game, and you get the penalty, I think you still kick the extra point, right? Yeah. We don't do anything silly there. But for the most part, if you get it at the 1 yard line, you should go for 2. And I liked it too, because it put them in a position where the field goal won it, which was crazy. That, again, I'm like, man, all they got to do is get the ball back one time. And at that point also, we had some 2.5s out there. Like, people, 2.5 all of a sudden became very important.
Yeah.
It was
I still wasn't like, I was not riding confident that the Jags were going to win this thing. I was just like, holy shit, they get inside the number if they can run this too. And the play call, so good. So good. Like, I didn't even see the Chargers actually like realize the ball had been snapped before it was already over. Lawrence touchdown. Great 2-point
conversion play.
The final drive
how often
for
is
the
that
Jags.
stopped?
Oh, not very often. I mean that. Well, so that's the other thing is like you caught them by surprise. Like I don't think that they were really like, they were peeing down their leg. The Chargers, that is. So it was going to happen no matter what. Anyway, the Chargers final drive, 3 plays, 5 yards. They took 16 off the clock, but they give the Jags back. And I forgot this. There was still 3 minutes left of the game at that point, and all you need is a field goal. So in the back of my head, I'm literally like, don't score too fast. Like, I don't want to, them to go up 1 and have enough time that Justin Herbert gets the ball again. Like, Doug Peterson, you need to engineer a 3-minute drive that takes, gets you in position to hit a high likelihood field goal. And he did it. And it was just expert, just chef's kiss, perfect calls left and right. They faced 1 third down, didn't get it with a bad call on the 41. But they went for it on the 4th.
Scared.
They went for it on the 4th and 1. And I mean, just another like picture perfect call for the offensive play call. And two coaching staffs that were playing that were like 2 coaching staffs that were in different classes is kind of the
I remember the copium on that 4th down though, where it's like, we got the teaser, the 2.5's there, whatever. It's fine. Like I remember just like thinking it's fine because that 3rd down play was not good, but then the 4th down run was just so good. Like when there's the TV can play tricks on your eyes sometimes with the angles, the way the cameras are lined up, and sometimes it looks like he's gonna get, and then no, he just ankle tackled, but like immediately it's like, oh, he's got the edge here. He's going to get 3-4 yards easily. And then, he got like 15, 16. Yeah. Like, what did that end up being? Like a 25-yard run. So, and at that point, it's over. So, beautiful play call. Beautiful job. Gets a little harder from here, but team of destiny.
Actually, at the same time, though, that kick
playing with house money, baby.
That kick was pretty close. That kick was a little close. It was a little close. But still, just the idea that Peterson had all of those plays in his bag, and he literally was like clear-minded enough to be like, okay, we need to go 60 yards. We need to eat 3 minutes of clock, and we win. And he did it. And it was so refreshing to see a coach just, in-game decision making just on fucking point. Bang, bang, bang. Everything perfect. So congratulations to Doug. And honestly, Doug Peterson has had some freaking playoff gems. He is compiling a record of playoff covers now that is incredible. Incredible. The win against Brady and Belichick in the Super Bowl is obviously number 1. But I forgot he took an awful Eagles team into the playoffs the next year. They beat the 12-win Bears with the double doink in that double doink game.
So, and that, I know it was Case Keenum, and we can look back and laugh at that, but that Vikings team was cruising.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were coming off the Minneapolis Miracle.
Yeah, for sure.
That was incredible.
Maybe, letdown spot after a crazy thing like that. But I mean, that team was very good that year. I think they were favored. I think the Eagles were dogs in every game. So, all right, while you look that up, we'll get to Sunday as we're very pleased that it could be a 2 birds, 1 stone. Like Jaguars move on, Lombardi gets fired. Everything's going good. Double doink was the year after the Super Bowl. Yeah, that was the Bears.
They beat the Bears with just an awful team.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, the Bears were a nice favorite in that one, I believe.
So Peterson he covers everything. Like it's incredible. Like the only playoff game that he has not covered was when Wentz got hurt against the Seahawks and they brought in Josh McCown, who had played through a torn hammy. And even then they almost covered they were live in that game against the Seahawks.
I remember that McCown's always a little statuesque, but
nope. He covered against the Bears as a dog. They were That line was 5.5 for the Bears. They win outright. They go to the Saints the next week. They're 8-point dogs on the road to the Saints. They gave the Saints a scare, lose by 6, but they cover. Like Peterson is. I mean, I'm sold. Like I'm a Peterson guy at this point. And if he lets us down in Kansas City and has his stinker as a coach in the playoffs, then so be it. But I'm ready for him to continue to prove people that he's not the guy with the playoff vision. So I just love it. I love him. I love it. And anything to keep this run going for the Jaguars will be just a dream.
Also, we kept doing things with all year and every year that we talk about the NFL. We talk about these coaching snafus, and most of it just feels like brain freeze in the big moments. And I think that's the biggest thing for Doug. You can say he's maybe a little overrated as a head coach and he's had a lot of help, but I mean, it just proved he wasn't afraid to do every correct decision in that second half and live with his consequences. And obviously things worked out and good for him, but that's what you need.
Yeah.
I love Andy Reid, but man, late game decision making, give me Doug.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure who I'm taking over Doug in terms of just in-game management right now as an NFL coach. Like do
you think winning a Super Bowl changes you like that? Where it's just like,
sure,
I can do what I want.
We talked about it
like, who's
after
gonna
that.
Question me?
We
It's
talked about it after that Super Bowl run because Doug Peterson learned the correct takeaways from being aggressive on fourth down situations, right? Like that became part of his DNA. And yeah, I do think he has changed. I do think he's just an in-game master. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Until he proves us otherwise, he is my guy. Moving down, you have any other final thoughts on Jags? Did you think the Jags defense deserves more credit for how well they played in the second half, or do you think that was all just Chargers charging?
A little of both. I mean, it was. An instant regression to this is where the Jaguars offense should be.
Okay.
So it takes two to tango, but it was probably 70-30 Chargers charging. Like I want to give the Jags more credit, but man, the Chargers had a bad game plan after half.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to Sunday's games and talk about the game that is this game still being played? I assume it ended at some point. I turned it off. Longest NFL game that didn't go to overtime that you can remember? What was going on in this one?
I feel like if the sports books had any problem with the Jaguars covering some live numbers, maybe the Niners taking that total over almost by themselves, they probably got some money back on the entire fucking world. Live betting the Bills second half -9.5. The Bills 6.5. The Bills 5.5. There's a Bills -3 that popped for a little.
There was
basically the only thing that kept me from having just a glorious weekend was falling into that trap myself. I couldn't not have a little bit of Bills live. I was getting them at -5.5 in a game where they were massive favorites, and I know things weren't going their way, but it just took one stop, and that's the biggest storyline. Is the stops were few and far between, and it gets tougher. It gets tougher than Skylar Thompson as you go throughout these playoffs. So, Drew, I pose this question because this is the only question that needs posing, maybe besides the Josh Allen interceptions. But what is going on with this Buffalo Bills defense? Trying to sound like it was on like First Take.
What's the deal?
What's the deal with airline food,
dude?
They don't serve it anymore. That's the deal.
The Bills outgained the Dolphins like 2-1.
Yeah.
We've
seen this box score. This is the same box score.
This is the same box score. Exactly. Yeah, it's the same box score. The Buffalo Bills offense was getting what was the first quarter stat line for Stephon Diggs? We were on like playoff single game record watch.
Yeah, he
after
had like
that first quarter from Diggs
or something.
They had no answer for Diggs whatsoever, and literally the Bills were like, you know what? We need to make this a little tougher. Let's tie one of our hands behind our back and give the Dolphins 14 points. Let's see how that goes. Their special teams all of a sudden choked after having the most impressive single game performance last week for the Bills against the Patriots. The special teams was atrocious in this game. And yeah, it was literally like the Bills were spotting the Dolphins points to make the game interesting, but it was not an interesting game. The turnover battle was only 3-2. The Dolphins had more penalties than the Bills by a lot. Bills outgained the Dolphins fourth at 23 to 231. Skylar Thompson threw 45 passes in this game, completed 18 of them. It was absolutely bizarre. The Dolphins were one-dimensional. They could not run the ball to save their lives. 2.1 yards per rush on the ground for the Dolphins in this game. And yet it was still in the balance because of the Bills giving the Dolphins short fields because of special teams and turnovers and free points on those turnovers. So very, very, very strange. The only shining light I can give the Dolphins credit for keeping themselves in this game was their defense was excellent in the pass rush. They sacked Josh Allen 7 times. I don't know the last time Josh Allen got sacked 7 times in a game, but it is not recently. Maybe never as a professional. I wouldn't be surprised. The general, am I backwards on that? Did the Bills have 4 sacks and the Dolphins 7 or vice versa? I think the Bills got sacked 7 times, I think. Anyway, it was Josh Allen got sacked 7 times, lost 36 yards.
And yeah, somebody pointed out the way he carries the ball. We saw one. It was lucky it was near the sideline. Like, would it be a Bills playoff game without Josh Allen like just throwing the ball? Like the best part was they called it. It was such a fucked up fumble. They called it an incomplete pass at first. That was one of those expedited replays, I think, Drew.
Yeah.
So it was like, no, he fumbled that. He just is not holding the ball like a normal person holds the ball. He's going full Shady McCoy on it.
Yeah. And I mean, the Bills get away with one when they clearly should have won and covered this one, in my opinion. I thought the closing spread was correct. I'm butthurt because I had a lot of Bills 9.5. It didn't even come close. Also, the total flew over. The overall game plan and how they utilized Allen was weird. What's his name? Ken Dorsey. Bad game call. Bad game plan from him. Did not understand it. Especially not adjusting in a way that gives your guys more protection. Don't like that. Don't need Josh Allen taking those shots in the backfield. This was just a bizarre game. I'm glad the Bills move on so we can see them play more football because they're fun to watch, but this was not a fun game.
Yeah, Bill, and maybe in the long run, like Bills, if you laid a huge price, which I don't think many people said I should lay 14 now. But a lot of people did have some good Bills first half prices. That felt dirty. Like, not even to get the 7.5 on that when they're up by 8. Like, that felt real dirty. Because there was people that had bigger numbers. Like, I think it closed 9. And they were driving essentially for probably a field goal to cover that. You're feeling good, and then it just went right out the window. Throw Linda out the window.
17-0. Can't get the first half home.
Thoughts about, and I'm not even going to tease you for this, Dev. McDaniels is horrible. The Raiders were not good, but I believe he's speaking of Mr. McDaniel there.
Mike McDaniel. It's tough. It's really tough for me to grade him, and we'll get more into some of this as we get into the offseason. Maybe we'll do some first-year coaching grades on a podcast, but how do you grade a guy whose quarterback carousel was like that? And then you say, well, Shanny did it. And it's not like the Dolphins don't have good offensive weapons, but man, they had a ton of injuries, losing quarterbacks in game like 4 different times. It's hard. I liked the enthusiasm. I like some of the offensive scheming, but at the same time, it's hard to grade how this Dolphins season truly, should be graded just based off the injuries at the most important position. I think that's right. I think that's correct. And I think you have to be somewhat encouraged. And actually, like, between the Dolphins and Chargers, 2 teams that both made the playoffs, get your young quarterback some experience in the case of the Chargers, don't get to some playoff experience in the case of the Dolphins. I think the moves that the Dolphins made last year, Armstead and Hill in particular, will continue to bear fruit more so than the moves that the Chargers made. Khalil Mack looks over the hill, and J.C. Jackson couldn't even give you a 2+ game grades like over the balance of the entire season. Like, not a good decision of allocating resources for the Chargers. Whereas the Dolphins, I do think Tua comes back healthy and kind of is able to avoid the head injuries the next season. Dolphins are going to be competitive, and McDaniel's a huge part of that. I liked him.
Yeah, and really, yeah, the take that a lot of people left with are this, Charles. The game management was poor. I know it was tough with Skyler, but I hadn't really seen this out of the Dolphins yet. Was like the fact that, and that's why this game took 4.5 hours. They used the entire Buffalo, and that the play clock. I mean, every
single time
was like a coin toss whether it was going to be delay a game or not. They snapped it at 0 like 15 separate times, and the fact that it took them that long to get the plays in, it's not like you didn't know Skyler was starting for a few days. He's played games before. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough seeing that, because not that I wanted the Bills out, but it's like, man, you guys are squandering this at this point just based on getting your plays in and getting plays off on time.
Yeah, that's right. If they were a little bit cleaner in that department, we may be talking about a different outcome for sure. Because they got what they needed in terms of all of the breaks and all the turnovers and the free points. So, moving on to the middle of the game, biggest winner of the weekend, as far as I could tell you, was Daniel Jones. He comes into his first playoff experience. He is kind of turned the tide, very, very forcefully turned the tide on how people perceive him as far as the future of the franchise. And he put an exclamation point on that with his performance yesterday, which was perfect. That was among the most, no doubt, I'm a guy performances from a first-time playoff starter that I have ever seen. It was outstanding. I give Dable and Kafka tons of credit. Surely those guys absolutely rock. They are throwing gas right now in terms of their scheming and what they want to do. I loved the fact that they had all of those design runs, and really just they gave Danny lanes to run if he wanted to in the first half. And he had like 70 yards running on the ground. And then in the second half, they pivoted away from it. And they had other stuff in their arsenal that I didn't know they had to go to through the air. And, yes, they were playing a JV defense from the Minnesota Vikings, but the fact that they were able to do that, and that they had those different looks, and that they got such a clutch kind of performance out of Daniel Jones was awesome. It was awesome.
And I do want to, I don't want this to take away from everything that Dable and Kafka and Wink and Daniel Jones has done, but it felt like, for the most part, the second half of the season, teams who played the Vikings either understood the assignment or they didn't. and maybe that makes sense.
Okay.
That the Lions and Packers understood the assignment and won those games because they're more familiar with the team.
Yes.
It's like, they're never, ever, ever, ever going to switch to man coverage on anyone out here for the most part. Like, if you know how to beat a zone, and everybody should know how to beat a zone at some level, it's still, you still have to go out there and execute and run the routes, run them crisp. The timing has to be good. The quarterback has to be upright. But like, it was just like, hey, here's where the gaps of the zones are. It doesn't matter who the name of this wide receiver is. Just have them run there. All he has to do is not drop it, because there's going to be no one within 5 yards. And that was the entire game. And there was so many times where everybody was just wildly open. So I don't want to take away anything from the Giants, because, like I said, a bunch of teams weren't even able to do this. The Vikings won a bunch of games. And I know a lot of that was on the backs of their offense. But it's like, yeah, the Giants got it. This is how you beat this team. This is how Isaiah Hodgkins or whatever has a huge game. This is how, you don't even need good wide receivers to do this. You need wide receivers who show up to the game, put on a jersey and make their way out the tunnel and then listen to the route trees. Like, hey, this is where you run this route and then you'll be open. Just go, trust me. It's like when they put Smalls out in the outfield and tell him to hold his glove out in the sand lot. Like, the ball's just going to be there, guy. Like, just run the route. So, I mean, I felt like the Giants left a lot of points out there.
Yeah.
They should have scored on every drive.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And somebody brought this up too. I think, and again, I don't want this to take away from what the Giants did this year, but it looks even better. Or it makes it look even better because Judge was so bad.
They only punted twice, man. They could have scored on every drive.
I know.
They didn't turn the ball over. They ran into the end of the half because they only had 45 seconds. But yeah, I mean, their punt late, I feel like was a little bit, I feel like there was some ref foolishness in that one. Oh yeah, they went for it on fourth down on that final drive too to eat more clock. Daniel Jones, no doubter on the sneak. Yeah, but after that they wasted. They basically just played, hey, we're going to make you burn timeouts with some, terrible runs and then gave the Vikings the ball back with plenty of time to score. So that was not ideal kind of in-game decision-making by the Giants there, only eating 3:16 o'clock, up 7 as opposed to trying to get more points. All that said, this was still a very, very impressive performance from the Giants. Are you in the camp of, it sounds like you're angry a little bit at the Vikings defense for being useless. Do you think that there is any overreaction to how good Daniel Jones played in this game? Or do you think my kind of giving him sort of the, the
Slayton drop was rough.
The Slayton drop was rough. Vikings did not turn the ball over. They barely committed penalties. It sucks for this guy individually because he's very much going to be remembered. He's going to be remembered for throwing a 3-yard, little stick on 4th and 8. But outside of that, Kirk Cousins had a really good game. Yeah,
he played clean as shit, and it was a good game by the Minnesota offense for the most part. Obviously, the trick play was freaking ridiculous and didn't need to happen, especially when Dalvin Cook was running pretty well. So that felt a little dumb, but at the same time, yeah, the Vikings. The offense was pretty good. It was mostly just this defense was horrible, and the Giants had a beautiful game plan to take advantage of it.
Yep. Okay. Daniel Jones overreaction at all, though? Are you?
Yeah. I mean, this was probably the worst defense he'll face from here on out.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, let's say he wins in Philly. I don't see. Just thinking of the other side, if it were like a Super Bowl matchup, yeah, it was one of the worst defenses in the playoffs. So like it gets harder from here, and now you face the team off a bye. Like I think there's probably a little bit of a overreaction just to the Giants team in general. That's what we saw, some money come in on them. We saw that number get pushed down to 7 pretty quick, and it did get bought back up. Most books are hanging a 7.5 now. So. That's probably the correct number.
We'll get to that. I don't know about that.
I told you already. I have 8.5 for mine.
Okay. The final. Okay. Well, we'll do a full on conversation about that in just a second. The final game was the most absurd. What in the world do you make of this other than the fumble 6, which cashed all of the Bengals minus 6.5s in the universe, and then just holding on for dear life while
the second half over,
and then holding on for dear life while the Ravens gave themselves chance after chance late. To close the gap. It was a weird one.
Jesus Christ.
Final 3 drives for the Bengals here. They went 3 plays, 8 yards, punt. 6 plays, 13 yards, punt. 3 plays, minus 1 yard, punt. Bengals could not get anything going after after they scored the touchdown coming out of halftime. And I think a lot of it kind of comes down to what's going on with their offensive line. Joe Burrow was under duress early and often. He ultimately got sacked 4 times in this game, but it felt like it could have been more. The offense in general, used to be able to just do whatever they wanted when they played the Ravens. They only gained 234 yards in this one. They got outgained 234 to 364 in this one. Huge imbalance in terms of yardage and yards per play in favor of the Ravens. But they got the key turnover, which was a 98-yard fumble recovery touchdown, aided by a pretty egregious block in the back that was not called. But
it wasn't horrible, but it's called often, I would say. That's what I'll say about that. I did go back and rewatch it.
It was probably a dive. It was probably Mark Andrews trying to get the call. He was trying to get the call because he wasn't going to get the tackle.
He was
did get the tackle, was going to be at
God
the
bless
1.
his heart. He was trucking.
He was working hard there.
I think the biggest surprising stat coming out of this was the Ravens' final drive had 10 plays. It was 10 plays for 19 yards. Yeah, 10 for 19. So, and that was the thing. Like you said, holding on for dear life. I thought for sure this game was going to overtime or the Ravens were going to score and try for a 2. I really do think they would have gone for 2.
That's interesting.
There were 5 drives after the fumble touchdown. There were 27 plays on those 5 drives.
Amazing.
For 52 combined yards between the two teams. The Bengals had 12 of those yards, 13 of them on one drive, if that makes sense. The other one went backwards. So just gritting your teeth, holding your breath, and dealing with those last 5 drives was something.
Yeah. It was rough. It was wild. And I mean, you can't feel great about the Bengals coming out of that game and the state of their offensive line in particular with terms of injury. So, the defense for the Bengals was good. Even in giving up yards, they had a little bend don't break in them. They got burned on one play. What was the Demarcus Robinson 41
truthfully,
yarder?
I want to give some credit because until the fumble, and really the fumble's a fumble. It's not good. The fact that it was returned that many yards is, there's a lot of variance involved in that sort of thing. But up until that point, Lamar Huntley. Why am I mixing? Lamar Hunt. Lamar Hunt is the AFC Trophy Award.
The AFC Trophy.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley played really well, like in a big spot where it's like, this is a playoff game. This is you asking you to step in. Like, I thought he played really well. And then after that, not so much. Obviously didn't completely pumpkin, but those weren't good drives.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And then, that somebody brought up that Hail Mary. I mean, that guy got
close.
That guy got his fingertips on that.
Oh man, it was close. Seeing that hit the turf was a huge deep breath. I had a lot of Bengals at impossibly good numbers. High five to the Deep Dive Discord guys for getting the Ravens team total under 19.5 home. That was hysterically close. If Huntley gets the touchdown instead of the fumble, that's 24 points and that loses.
Or even if they settle for a field goal there.
Even if they settle for a field goal, that's right. That's a great point. Very, very weird game. The fact that it was divisional, common opponent, familiar opponents, I guess explains some of it maybe. But the Bengals got outplayed in a lot of phases of the game and still won. And this leads us into what to make of their matchup this week against the Bills, who are in sort of a similar boat. Jacksonville, Kansas City. You want to talk about that market real quick? That opener?
Yeah. Came down to sit. So right now sitting at Chris -8, total 52. And I don't know, Drew. I the more I looked at it and ran some stuff today when I had some time, I think I'm pretty fine with both of those. The coming off a bye has to matter for something. Even if you don't poop any team off a bye should count for this much playoff experience should count for something, and a team with the best quarterback in the damn NFL should count for a lot. So like, I'm fine with this 8. If you made me bet this, I'd tease the shit out of Kansas City. God damn it, that's a good teaser leg. Like, I want Jacksonville to win. I want them to win the damn Super Bowl because I'll win a bunch of money. But realistic Andy says this is America's teaser. Like, what account is this not in? Where you tease the 2 games there on Saturday into Sunday, or excuse me, they're both Saturday, aren't they? You have the Chiefs Eagles teaser.
Yeah.
Like, in what world isn't everybody and their sisters playing that? Like, if that hits, books might have a bad day, especially if both favorites cover.
Yeah, I see you. I don't know, man. It's a lot of points. I don't know that there's a lot that separates teams in the NFL right now. Certainly don't know.
Teaser lose? I know. How does that teaser lose? How did Miami almost win? How did Seattle end up leading at halftime? Like, it's the playoffs and things are always close. Things are always closer. Unless you're the Minnesota Vikings, you don't get blown out in the playoffs for the most part.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know that I'm ready to put Jags in sort of an elite tier of teams. Peterson's in the elite tier of coaches for me, but the team itself has weaknesses. Surely it can be beat, but the Chiefs have struggled against the very, very good this season. It's been tough sledding for them. They've gotten some wins, and we were joking about how many percentage of the wins the Vikings had by 3 points. Chiefs are right there too. Like, Chiefs aren't doing a lot of winning with margin this year. They were bet against into the close a couple of times down the stretch here too. So I think that this Jags are the side, and I think they'll get bet. The fact that bookmakers low on this now at 8 and other places at 8.5, some places 9, I think is telling you that's the direction this is going to trend. There's really no injuries to speak of that matter to the Jags in this one. So should be just generally clean reports all week this week. Total up to 52 now. That opened a lot lower than 52, didn't it? Or am I tripping?
Well, that got bet up. And I do have to answer this question because I'm going to do a 10-second anecdote. Somebody recommended Rittenhouse to me.
Yeah, sure. Rittenhouse, right.
It's a really good whiskey. It's going to be like $24-$25 most places. It's really good. I posted about it because I'm like, hey, I bought this whiskey. This guy on Twitter recommended to me. And then I watched a movie with my wife, and I had a bunch of angry replies because it was that night that kid from Wisconsin got released on bail, that Kyle Rittenhouse, and people were like, are you making a political statement? I'm like, well, shit, this was bad timing. Like, people didn't believe me. I'm just like, well, I'm going to block you now because I'm sick of arguing with you about this. And
I like Pikesville.
Can you hear this child out here?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
There's like a baby in the hallway just screaming.
Sorry, man.
But yeah, Rittenhouse is great. It's like being on the worst plane.
Pikesville is a great rye, very high proof.
I had Pikesville last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, very good. I'm a big fan. I'm getting a little low on it.
Okay. Bourbon. I mean, Evan Williams can't go wrong, really. There's no going wrong with bourbon. Bullet is solid for mixing cocktails.
If you want to make rye, I don't like using really good rye when I make like an old fashioned or something, or even a whiskey smash. Like Bullet's a really nice rye for if you're mixing it. So yeah, I'm with you. What's the one they make? Oh, whatever. Never mind. We'll revisit this another day. Somebody got me off track. The total got bet up already to the 52. That get that. Yep. Jaguars defense there's a lot of mismatches here that in favor of the Chiefs offense. So Chiefs getting to 30, I don't think is really scaring, I don't think that's outrageous at all. And if the Jaguars are feisty and competing here, we've seen lots of games where the Chiefs have to open up and the game the top comes off, the score sheet. So wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of the temperature of that one. Giants Eagles
opened at 8.5. You said, and it got bet down to 7.
Well, I said mine. I'm making.
Oh,
8.5.
your number was 8. Oh, okay.
It was kind of around that 7.5. I feel like I wasn't paying as much of attention as I should have been, but I can go check some charts. I guess I can go check the records.
Yeah, I can't. My Scott screen's not working for that for some reason, so I can't.
It got bet down to 7. Jesus Christ, food snob. This is the sort of stuff you get mad about, buddy. But it got bet down to 7. Yeah, for sure. But it got it was 8.5, I think, and it did get bet down to 7. Buyback on the Eagles.
Yeah, you know what? The first price I saw at first, this is just kind of fluctuating juice wise, but it did move, come back from 7 to 7.5 sincerely today. So this is Giants are passed because of the health of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. So again, it's a Wong is a Wong, someone said. That's true. This one scares me more because
both totals pretty high.
He didn't look, and both totals are high. That's the other caveat of this, but I think maybe the extra efficiency of a playoff market helps kind of assuage some of that. But at the same time, Jalen Hurts didn't look great in Week 18. I know that the takeaway can be, why would anybody show anything in that game? If you're the Eagles, just get in there, win the game, take care of business, get your one. You're playing against backups. So maybe there's something to that, but I'm a little sketched out. So yeah, if you made me play this straight up, it would be the Giants. But I do think there's a good case for just like a Giants team total over in this one.
Yeah,
I mean the total's getting bet up. It's 48. So I mean, if you can get a Giants like 21, I mean at 21, is that not reasonable? That's not unreasonable.
So here's the thing about the Eagles. They're beat the hell up. Lane Johnson's probably going to go. Yeah, Lane Johnson's probably going to go. He is messed up right now. Josh Sweat probably does not go. Avonte Maddox may not go. Like, this is all of a sudden like a couple of pieces are, that some of the depth is in question. AJ Brown obviously is always an injury question mark. They reintegrating Dallas Goedert, but he hasn't been, the same explosive player that he was. Miles Sanders got banged up a little bit down the stretch too. Like, everybody's gotten some licks, and I don't know if a week off solves all of that. But I don't know. I don't think you want to be playing the Giants in this current form. The Giants continue to get healthier as well, by the way. I don't know, man. I think the Giants are the side. I think this should probably be 7, and I am going to decide one way or the other as we go into get some injury news here, but I'm probably going to be on the Giants in the over this week in that game. Weather matters, of course. I don't know what we're going to get weather-wise in Philly on Saturday night, but yeah, I don't know, man. Giants look live to me. You're muted. Oh,
sure. I said at least to keep it close.
In the back of your head,
like the Giants team total over is probably on my card.
In the back of your head,
the Giants, I like the over. And the weather does look okay. Dan confirming that early weather looks
neither of these teams has really played anyone all season, but certainly you could have asked me at a random part of the season, any given time, what are you going to do with the Eagles in their first playoff game? And I think I would have said, I'm going to fade them, based solely on the idea that their market rating is at the behest of beating up on some tomato cans.
Yeah, I think some of the late season, just the late season Minshew games and what we saw in Week 18, I think that tempered that down a little. Okay. Probably still a little high in the market, but it's not what it would have been. Like if you would have got 17 weeks of healthy Hale and healthy Jalen Hurts, I think you're absolutely right. But at the same time, it's not a great matchup for a beat-up team. If they're able to generate any pressure on Hurts, this is a very close game. It's a divisional matchup. And yeah, the Eagles beat the tar out of them the first time. That Giants team was very different.
Oh, yeah. Look who was available in that game.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
Giants getting a lot healthier. Eagles kind of trending the other way.
My guy Zizou Bergs pulled his head out of his ass. Fucking finally doing great in this set. Let's go Zizou. Okay. Well, we'll save some of our thoughts for Wednesday's pod. Sound good?
Yeah, let's touch on the last one real quick, and then let's watch football.
Bengals should be the bet, but can you stomach it with an absolute who's who of replacement players now?
And the argument I saw on Twitter today was like, they made it to the Super Bowl with a pretty bad line last year. I know, but it was at least some continuity between those shit players.
Yeah, so they just need 3 picks like they did in the divisional round last year. Well, Josh Allen might give it to them.
Just need a bunch of magic. But, I mean, the fact that they're making changes midway through, the fact that we haven't seen, at least I feel like there was some continuity, even if there are 5 bags of trash. Like they played together a bunch. That counts for something. Like it could be a little iffy.
Yeah.
And you don't just come back. You don't dislocate a kneecap and come back and play the next game.
No. Jonah Williams is not playing. No.
I don't think he'll be available even on the Super Bowl.
My guess is the starting offensive line is all second unit and Ted Karras. I mean, this is going to be Adeniji and Smith at your 2 tackles, so 2 backup tackles. Alex Kappa, I don't think is going, so you're going to get Max Sharping. Cordell Volson is already a backup in there, and then Ted Karras is going to be your center, who's your anchor. But both sides of your O line now is replacement level players, and your depth is effed. I don't know who's somebody goes down in that game. I mean. You move in a tight end. Like you don't even really have a swing tackle, I don't think anymore. Huge questions about how that works out because the Bills can manifest a pass rush. The Bills' secondary and safety play is what's more concerning for them. So if you can protect Burrow, he should carve the Bills. If you can't, this is now your defense needs to win you this game, which they could. The total has been weirdly high for what looks at least like a move that came in pretty sincerely on Buffalo. I'm not sure why anyone would go through the tape and decide, well, Buffalo's offense is going to score more based on what I saw. You got a tough matchup since he's got some horses, particularly safeties. You can spy on, you can disrupt some of the best stuff that they do. So this total looks high at 50, even though the idea of betting an under at the Bills game probably gives people, rightfully gives them a stomachache.
Yeah, that's a plug your nose, don't watch the game, which is not an option because it's the playoffs. You kind of have to watch the game, guys. So, and people are pointing out Volson, the North Dakota State product.
Cordell Volson started? Oh, okay.
Yeah. He played a bunch at least.
He played a bunch, yeah, but he wasn't their week 1 starter, I don't think. He wasn't plan A for them, I don't think.
Let
me see.
Let's watch some football, guys. Dallas, Tampa Bay. Cannons a firing. Dak. I don't know, a Dakin.
Oh, Volson was their week 1 starter. I take it back. Cordell Volson is he's been a mainstay of that offensive line.
No takesies.
He has, Andy, you want to guess how many, what percentage of snaps Volson played outside of the week 19 throwaway game?
19.
100% of snaps.
That's high.
In every single, for every single game he played. He did miss week 17 for some reason.
He's the Iron Man of this team.
Oh, week 17, they didn't play. He is the Iron Man of this line. He's been on the field for every single offensive snap for the Bengals this season, including 100 of them week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They played 100 offensive snaps in that game. Wow.
FCS, yeah. North Dakota State powerhouse. Not no more.
Yeah. Good call, GK Volson.
Ooh, are the North Dakota State Bison the New England Patriots, as in dynasty over? We'll break that down at halftime, guys.
All right. Let's do it.
Andy has to go feed that baby.
What's that?
Andy has to go feed that baby.
Feed the baby.
GK, real quick, yes, they did vote on Coach of the Year.